guys, delfiend here. I'm going to be answering the questions on that Q&A video I posted. Freddy's here with me. He's climbing around on my back, which isn't helpful because he's not in frame. I'll get him here in a sec. He's falling off. Alright, so let's start with the first question here from Roy Rugani Jr. Says, what size is that cage your beardy is in? Is the beardy full grown? Thanks. There he is. There's Freddy. He's coming around the side here. The size that Freddy is in, it's a custom cage that I built with my dad. It's a 2-foot by 4-foot cage, and it's about, 18 to 20 inches tall. There he is. Just crawling around. Freddy is full grown, but he is pretty small for a bearded dragon. He came from small parents, so he doesn't get that big. But they can get bigger, but that cage would work for any size bearded dragon. Freddy has plenty of room in there. And he's on my neck now. There we go. Next question here. Titan Gamer says, anything to help me take care of my beardy? I got one, but just for help in the future. There's tons of videos on my channel that I put up. I tried to cover as many angles as I could on bearded dragon care, just keeping in mind that they're expensive, especially since being reptiles they need the UVB lighting can be expensive. They're about $25 a bulb if you get them from a good website, nice and cheap, so they can be more expensive than that, and you have to replace them about 6 months max because the UVB output lowers as they are in use. And then of course you have to buy the heat bulbs. I can usually get a 2-pack of the 100 watts for about $15 on Amazon. That way I put one in, and then if it burns out I got an extra, because nothing panics you more than having your heat bulb burn out and then not having one around, because then you have to go to a pet store and they're about twice as much at a pet store than buying them on Amazon. So yeah, and then just a really helpful website is Bearded Dragon Nutrition. I got it beautifuldragons.com/nutrition. Put the link down below here, but basically that website is really great, especially when your beardy starts getting older and you have to start feeding them vegetables. They can be really picky, so just having that list, knowing what's safe to feed to beardies, what's not, how often you should feed it, whether it's something you can give every day or if it's just a treat, it's all very helpful. She also includes insects on there, so it's not just vegetable matter. So that helps if you're trying to find a new feeder, if you're just trying to expand their diet, kind of find a variety of stuff. That website is super helpful. And then another one that's one of my favorites is beardeddragon.co. I believe I've got that right. I'll put that link down here too. They're just a website where you can buy bearded dragon supplies. You can get your brand name light bulb supplies, but then they also have their own stuff that's not brand name from them. They have tons of medication. They have a lot of stuff, pretty much anything that you can need for a bearded dragon they're going to have. They've got accessories and all that jazz, and it's all a really good price. So I got a lot of my stuff from there, and I still get a lot of my stuff when I need it. I buy from those guys. Alright, moving on here. Lakes Reptile says, for the Q&A, what's the biggest difference you notice between your darts and your dad's darts? Behavior, etc. For mine are Phyllobates terribilis. They are the most poisonous animal, vertebrate at least, in the world. So with that fact, they tend to be really cocky. So my dart frogs, Apollo, Ash, and Christopher, they tend to be out a lot. They'll just be kind of sitting out in the open. They don't really feel the need to hide because they instinctually know that they're pretty BA. So yeah, they're out a lot. They don't really climb as much as a lot of dart frogs. They tend to stay pretty terrestrial. I have some options for them to get higher. And I have seen Apollo climb up on the log, but, only a couple inches off the ground. He doesn't really go anywhere. And so my dad's dart frogs, they tend to really use my dad's, upper space. His tank, though, is slanted upwards. The ground slants. And then there's all sorts of plants and decor, so it's a lot easier for them to get, higher up than mine, which is a flat plane with some logs going up, that sort of thing. But yeah, they tend to be a little bit shyer. They usually only come out when it's feeding time. And yeah, So mine tend to be pretty out, my dad's not so much. But they're both really, really cool. There's lots of different frogs. Some dart frogs are more territorial than others. Sorry, Freddy's falling asleep here, so I'm just trying to make him comfy. It's getting towards his bedtime. But yeah, pretty much my frogs tend to be really out, really bold. The Phylobates terribilis, I'm pretty sure Phylobates, the bicolor ones, probably act around the same, both being Phylobates dart frogs. But Dendrobates have a wide variety of behaviors, tend to be using that space more, that upward space. And you can find some that are, really bold, but my dad's tank is really, really thick with vegetation, so they tend to get back in there and then you lose sight of them. So that's the biggest difference between those guys. Go Reptiles asks, are you planning on getting any more pets? Well, yeah, a lot of pets actually. I'm just not in the situation right now to be getting any more anytime soon, since I've got all of these pets here at my house, and my family is wonderful enough to take care of them properly for me while I'm at college. But while I'm living in the dorms, I'm not really going to be getting anything new. Because if I keep it here, I won't be around to take care of it properly, and they're already having to take care of so many of my pets, they don't want to have to put more burdens on them. But as soon as I get a house with my roommate, which will be, about 2017, late 2017, I've convinced her we're going to get a tegu, an Argentinian black and white tegu for the house, instead of getting a dog or a cat or anything. So yeah, be expecting that. I'm really pumped about that, actually. I'm going to try and get a female, and the name that we have picked out is Beetlejuice right now. So I'm really excited. It's very difficult for me not to just be going out and spending all of my time, researching and looking up products that I should be buying and, looking into breeders, because if I start doing that, I'm not going to be able to make it until 2017. So I'm just trying to not focus on that right now. But like I said, as soon as I get my own place, and I can have pets again, and I'm able to take care of them on my own time, you can expect a lot. I might be able to get some smaller pets, praying mantis. I've had those in the past. They're some of my favorite pets to keep, so I might be able to get one of those in the dorm. My roommate, she's really chill about that sort of thing, and she loves animals, but I'd be the one taking care of it, so I have to keep that in mind. She can't be too helpful because they're both busy with school. But yeah, definitely planning on getting more pets. Like I said, it's just not going to happen too soon, just because I need to be able to support the pets financially, obviously, and kind of colleging full-time right now. I'm going to be working at Petco still during the summer, so who knows. I'm planning to try and be responsible, and hopefully that works out for me, but if not, you guys will be the first to know. Alright, Go Reptiles also asks, can you see yourself getting any more reptiles in your life? Absolutely. Like I said, I'm looking into getting an Argentinian black and white tegu here once I have my own place to live. As it is in the dorms, we're not technically allowed to have anything other than like goldfish or just non-venomous fish. Doesn't mean you can't sneak it in, just means it's a little bit more difficult to try and keep that going, especially in the small spaces we live in. As for reptiles, I said tegu. There's tons of different frogs that I want to get. Vietnamese mossy frogs are so super cool. Josh's Frogs has, I think they're the only captive breeders of yellow-spotted climbing toads, which, if you guys have been following me for a while, I was debating between those and my dart frogs when I went to the National Amphibian Expo a couple years back and got my dart frogs. So still want to get those guys. They're super cool. There's all sorts of reptiles that I'd love to get. I'd love to get a snake at some point. Probably, your beginner boa, maybe a cool morph. I really love hognoses. Hognoses are really cute, but I'd have to look into their care, that sort of thing. I can't be going off of how adorable something is, or I'd end up with way too many pets. But yeah, generally, reptiles are really great pets. if you have the money and the time to take care of them. So definitely I would be wanting to get more reptiles. As I expand my horizons too, that'll help me figure out what there even is in the hobby. There's all sorts of rare lizards that I've seen come through Petco. You know, your Lacerdas and your crested geckos, of course, are really cool. But I tend to like pets that I can interact with more than just, show pets. Obviously, my fish, I can't really take those guys out for a walk or anything. My dart frogs tend to stay in one place. But even my dart frogs are more active. They're out. They're not just sort of sitting there. Like Pac-Man toad might just kind of burrow in there. Tree frogs that are nocturnal would just kind of squat in one corner and wait till night. So yeah, I tend to go for something that's more hands-on. Bearded dragon, it's pretty hands-on. Freddy's really chill. Puts up with a lot of crap from me. Tegus are really, really awesome. They're kind of like cats in the reptile world. Of course, you got to keep them in a cage. They can't just be free roaming because they need that humidity. But when you let them out, they're really fun and they're really personable. So that's what I tend to go for when it comes to reptiles. So yes, definitely be getting more, but unfortunately not anytime soon. Next question here is from Wendy the Tactical. She says, I have a bearded dragon, and sometimes he does not eat. Why do you think that happens? Bearded dragons are fickle. They're not programs that'll just, do the same thing over and over. Every now and again, they're just going to be a little bit moody, lose their appetite. Also, being during winter, some reptiles, like bearded dragons, can burmate, which is like a sort of hibernation where they're not really, 100% committed to being asleep for the entire winter, but they'll kind of get lazy, they'll eat less, do less, that sort of thing. When that does happen, you just want to, kind of leave them be, let them rest, let them do their burmation. But when they are up, you want to, give them water, make sure they're hydrated. I don't remember, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to offer them too much food, because if they go back into burmation, then that's undigested in their stomachs, and that can cause problems. But there's some great articles online that you can find about burmation, really helps out. But yeah, also sometimes they can just get bored. If you were eating hamburgers every single day, you'd eventually get sick of hamburgers. So it helps to have a variety of food to offer them, just in case they're kind of getting sick of the same old. Spicing it up can tend to help their appetite, keep them eating and growing. So that website from before, beautifuldragons.com/nutrition, is great to go to because, like I said, they just list all sorts of foods that are beardy safe. They also list foods that are not. You can find them in red font, so you know to avoid those. Anything in blue font is kind of a risk too. I've a little bit memorized this website. Blue font is like occasional, you can give it to them, but if you give it to them too often, there's probably a vitamin or some sort of mineral in there that they either shouldn't have too much of or whatnot. Yellow foods on that website you don't want to feed. You can, but it's kind of a risk, and red foods are a big no. So that's how that website works, and it's really great. Freddy was super picky. If you guys have watched my hour-long Bearded Dragon All You Need to Know video, which I made when I had a cold, I was talking about in the beginning how Freddy was trying to get him to eat more vegetables because he was getting to that time in his life where he was making the switch, and he just wasn't having it. I used that website to find all sorts of different foods I could feed him. He ended up really getting into prickly pear cactus fruit, and then from there he, started eating some dandelion greens, and once he was into dandelion greens, he kind of went for more different types of greens that I could find more easily, like turnip greens, collard greens. So yeah, just get them into that mindset, and then you can work out from there and try and find something a little more accessible. His favorite foods now are, he loves butternut squash, and he still loves his cactus fruit when I can get a hold of it when it's in season. But when I can't, he settles for squash and some turnip greens. He's taking a nap right now. Woody the Tactical also asks, what is your favorite type of reptile? As I've only had so many different types of reptiles, I'm going to have to go with bearded dragon right now. If I just went with any reptile in general, I think tegus and monitors are really cool. They're just huge lizards, and that's pretty awesome. Having a dog-sized lizard, can you imagine? If they all acted like Freddy, that would be awesome. But unfortunately, it's not always the case. there's all sorts of cool snakes. I mean, if you want to throw in amphibians in there, dart frogs are pretty darn awesome. I have a ball with those guys. They're just so cool. When you tell people that you have poison dart frogs, you get a mixed bag of reactions. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with bearded dragons, just because I've got this guy here. And if I said differently, he'd probably get upset with me. So yeah. Dumpster4413 says, do you have any suggestions for my picky beardies? My female won't eat her greens, and one of my male won't eat his bugs. What should I do? Like I said, for the last couple people, variety always helps. They can get bored of eating their same things, and like I said, Freddy literally would not eat any vegetables until I went and found prickly pear cactus at our local market. So just go to the website at beautifuldragons.com/nutrition. Just go through that list. If you're at the grocery store, just pull it up on your phone. Just buy something new. You know, every week, try something new, maybe. Bugs, you can do the same thing. There's tons of different feeders other than crickets and your mealworms, superworms. Freddy has gone through. Hornworms are some of his favorite. They're just, don't get them out of the wild because their natural diet causes them to be toxic. But if you get them from Great Lakes hornworms, they breed them and make sure that they don't eat tomato plants, which cause them to become toxic. So you can buy those guys. They're pretty much big, meaty caterpillars. So, and they're really soft. They don't have like any exoskeleton like superworms or mealworms. So they're especially good in that way because they're really meaty. They'll fill your beardy up, and then they don't have that fear of the exoskeleton that's hard to digest. So all around, it's a good time. They're just a little bit on the pricey side. That's the only downside to them. You can breed them, but it is tedious because you got to get them to go into their cocoons, and then they have to come out as moths, and they're huge moths. I've done this before with some hornworms from my garden. And then from there you have to put a tomato plant outside the cage of the moths so that they start deciding to breed. And it's a big deal. I've looked into it, obviously, but it's pretty tedious and takes up a lot of space. Freddy's favorite is definitely roaches. He loves roaches, and they're a great feeder because you can keep them. They live a long time. The adults live like 1 to 2 years, and then they'll breed on their own. You don't have to like change the heat, or their eggs are kept inside their body and then come out once they hatch. So that means you don't have to do anything with the eggs to incubate them. So it's pretty much just like if you can keep them and feed them, they will make you your own bearded dragon food. And it's great when you have a baby because they'll eat all those tiny ones. It gets a little more tricky when they get big like Freddy because then he loves eating the adults, but then you need those guys to make more roaches. So it's just a matter of, trying to feed him a ton of baby ones. It's always healthier that way to do a ton of smaller feeders than it is to do a couple big ones. The hornworms come in a variety of sizes. They come from like, half an inch little baby ones to the full 2-3 inch adults. So just, like I said, keep a variety. Just try and offer them a lot more food, just a lot of different things. Also, like I said previously, if it's winter, it's cold, they might be, going into some sort of brumation. It might not be full-on brumation, but they could just be more sluggish because of the weather. So just try and keep an eye on them. Try a couple different things, try new food. Maybe you should change how long the lights are on. If they're on too little, they'll start to feel very sluggish because that's a sign that it's winter. Just check the basking temperatures. Make sure the basking temperatures are where they should be. It's really easy to get it set up and get it right, but then just sort of ignore it from there. And it's something that you really should be checking in on, at least once a week. Just make sure it's good. Nothing's changed in the tank, especially if the bearded dragons are moving around and need decor. Their basking spot could get too far away at some point, and then if they're not basking, they're going to be lazy. Like Freddy here has been sitting in his faraway corner for about 2 hours now, so he's nice and cold and sleepy. But if he had been basking properly, he would have been plenty excited for this video. Fortunately, he is falling asleep on us. Where did you get your beardy? My beardy came from Dramatic Dragons. It's a breeder I found out of Louisiana. I'm not sure if he's operating. He still has a Facebook page, but his website is no longer up. Yeah, I got Freddy from there. Just because I was looking to get a leucistic dragon, a dragon that was mostly white, and he had a clutch coming along from a leucistic female and then a very colorful male. He was very, very citrus with some really beautiful purple tiger bars going on there. And so the babies were looking like they were going to be pretty leucistic, so I bought Freddie up, and he didn't turn out leucistic. He turned out really, really beautiful and rainbow, but I love him anyway, so I do. So yeah, I got him from Dramatic Dragons. There's tons of breeders out there, though. I've tons of them, and I can't say they're all great because that would be a lie. You have to watch who you're getting your dragon from. Make sure it's a respectable, breeder. Make sure they don't have any malpractices or anything like that. But generally speaking, if they've got a website, it's pretty professional, and you can find people talking about them on reptile forums and saying good things. That is, that's how you know that it's pretty good to get a reptile there. I tend to go for people that specialize. If they're just selling beardies, you're probably solid. If it's a website where they're selling all sorts of different reptiles, you're going to want to check it out and make sure they're good, because if they have all sorts of reptiles, then their bearded dragons aren't getting 100% of their attention. So you have to make sure that they're taking care of them before you go and spend the money and then end up with a dragon that's going to need a lot of extra care because he wasn't getting the proper stuff from where it came from. So yeah, that's my only warning. You can always get them from pet stores too. There's nothing wrong with getting a bearded dragon from a pet store. You just can't guarantee that it'll have like high color or anything like that. And you just gotta watch for missing toes, nipped tails, that sort of thing. While that's totally fine, they can grow up perfectly normal with missing toes and shortened tails. Just make sure it's not getting infected or anything like that. A lot of the problems that you'll find at pet stores is that we can only feed them so many crickets. And especially you don't want to put in too many crickets, because if they're left uneaten, then the crickets will actually maim the beardies. They'll eat at the soft flesh of like the eyes, they'll nibble on the toes, that sort of thing. And then you'll end up with a bearded dragon with a more serious injury than just a nipped toe or something like that. So if you're going to buy from a pet store, just be very, very observant, make sure the bearded dragon looks healthy, that sort of thing. Because you can find a lot of bearded dragons that are going to have problems. I always check if someone's looking to buy a bearded dragon from Petco when I'm working there. I always give them a quick checkup, make sure they don't have any spots on their scales that look, suspicious, like some rot or something going on. I always make sure they're really bright-eyed, really alert. They should be. And if they're not, then we don't sell them, and we take them back to our sick bay, take them to the vet within 24 hours, and get them medicated if needed. So yeah, that's why I like working at Petco, because their policies on that sort of thing are wonderful. They're not just going to toss out a bearded dragon that's not ready for sale, which I enjoy. That is the right thing to do, is to get them veterinary attention with any of your animals. If anything's looking strange, just because it's not a dog and it's not technically something that it's common at a vet, you should always get them checked out by a professional instead of WebMDing for bearded dragons. So yeah. Alright guys, sorry it took so long to get this Q&A video out. I was having computer issues. My computer was working fine when it was at college. I packed it up to come home for spring break, and when I got home it would turn on, but the screen was totally black. So we finally got that fixed. That's why I'm making this video now. So alright, this has been the Q&A video. If you guys have any more questions below, feel free to put them down in the comments. I'll probably answer them, but I might save a couple and do another Q&A video. If you prefer that you have your question answered in the comments, sort of that immediate response, just specify it in your comment and I'll get back to you. If you don't mind waiting, if it's a personal question about me or my pets and you want it answered, I can put it on a video. I'll try and be doing these more often, so I am putting out more content and answering you guys' questions. So yeah. This has been the Q&A video with Freddy, who has been falling asleep the entire time because he's lazy and it is his bedtime. He's a good lizard. Say bye, Freddy. Say bye. Thanks, bud. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, any more questions you have, go ahead and put them down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos.